Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the launch of the 8th edition of the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report. We are very honored to have you join us, and we will begin shortly. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To begin with, we will have opening remarks by Mr. Abdullah Lawar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Your Excellency, Datuk Dr. Rais Hussein Mahmoud Arif, Chairman of the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, my friend and colleague, Mr. Rafiuddin Shiku, CEO of Dinar Standard, Your Excellencies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's certainly a pleasure to be with you all today on this momentous occasion where we launch the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report for 2020-2021 in Malaysia. I believe both Malaysia and the UAE share a lot of similarities when it comes to the Islamic economy. I do believe that the foundations of these sectors of the Islamic economy were cemented a long time ago in these two countries. So it is not strange at all to me that both nations are significant trading partners with each other. Statistics do show that in 2019, the first 8 months, the trade between Malaysia and UAE reached 3.74 billion US dollars, and that signifies quite a lot. It signifies that there is a lot of opportunity as well for halal trade amongst other products trade between Malaysia and the UAE. So it is, for me at least, it is very apparent that the UAE and Malaysia are excellent trading partners. And I believe both should do more and can do more with respect to development of the Islamic economy. But as you have all hopefully seen previously in the Global Islamic Economy Indicator, both nations also take leading positions in the Global Islamic Economy Indicator. Malaysia has been leading consecutively in the Islamic economy. The UAE has always also been in the top 3 in the Islamic economy indicator. So I'm excited about the opportunities that present to us between the UAE and Malaysia. With that being said, we're very excited about the report in this in its 8th edition. Not only because of how the jurisdictions were, let's say, rated and ranked in the indicator, but beyond that, the outlook for the Islamic economy sector seemed quite significant to take into account. And I don't want to take the spotlight from Brother Rafi', who will shed light on the report perhaps and the findings, but we all know that 2020 has not been an easy year and has been a very difficult year for the world. Yet we do believe that certain Islamic economy sectors will fare well in comparison to others. But we are also quite certain that the foundations of the Islamic economy could lend itself towards the recovery post-COVID-19, and that's hopefully something that all of us will see. So I don't want to take a lot of your time, but again, I wanted to thank the MDEC for hosting the launch in Malaysia. And we're looking forward, obviously, to continuing to support the State of the Global Islamic Economy report, because we do believe that this is today a benchmark of data on the Islamic economy and the reference point for a lot of nations to actually develop their strategies around the Islamic economy. With that being said, I wanted to conclude by thanking Dinar Standard, of course, the publishers and developers of the report, for continuing to support this initiative as well. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoy today's launch.
Thank you, Mr. Alawar, for that very heartening introduction to our report. And inshallah, we will now follow with a welcome note from Mr. Noor Hizam Abdul Qadir, who is the Vice President of FinTech and the Islamic Digital Economy at MDEC.
Thank you, Simon. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon. I'm extending salam from Dr. Rais, Chairman of Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, who is unable to attend today's session due to some unavoidable reasons. He wishes he could be here and wish the event to be a success. Yeah, it is the time of the year again with the release of the 8th State of Global Islamic Economy report. Last year, I remembered that we had the event at Orbit in Malaysia. And it's interesting that within a year, a lot of changes have taken place as we're all now convening virtually. But I'm sure that the impact will still be equally the same. I would like to congratulate Dinar Standards again for producing this very much anticipated report. And it's a great honor for Malaysia, MDEC, and to be the host country again, as we see this as a very important report that would provide a key go-to global references, which will ultimately drive a sustainable growth of the global Islamic economy. MDEC, as many would be aware, is a government agency, and we have been established about 25 years ago. And we've been entrusted by the government to drive digital economy growth in Malaysia. And many people would be wondering, and how would MDEC be linking to Islamic economy? We do see a lot of opportunities within Islamic economy itself. In fact, if we were to look at the report, we do see lots of digitalizations that happen across the sectors in the report itself. Yeah. This year, as we all know, I think the whole entire world knows that COVID-19 pandemic is indeed quite a phenomenon that has shaken the world unexpectedly. It has put the whole world to test, and how we react to a pandemic like this has profoundly impacted our daily routines and even our religious duties. And we do see, in response to COVID-19 pandemic, digital technologies have proven to be a practical solutions, as how we have demonstrated right now, being able to have this launch here virtually online with everyone all around the world convening at about the same time. So inshallah, let's all pray that things will get better. And once again, I congratulate Dinar Standards and its partners for producing an excellent 8 editions of the report. And I anticipate that today's launch and presentations will definitely spark constructive feedback, and that will definitely help the growth of Islamic finance and the Islamic economy. With that, I wish all of us a fruitful and rewarding experience during this session. And Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for your remarks. We will be following up with an introduction to the report by Mr. Rafiuddin Shiko, CEO of Dinar Standard. We would like to invite our audience to share any questions they have in the chat, the Q&A box. Please feel free to ask your questions, and we will take Q&A right after the report presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Samin, and thank you, first of all, Mr. Noor Hizam, for the welcome introduction on behalf of MTech, Mr. Abdullah Lawar on behalf of Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, and all the distinguished panelists who have joined us to comment and give their views on the report. I look forward to your views on the report. So I start in the name of Allah in terms of sharing the first a summary of the insights, and we have a short video on behalf of some of our key team members who put the report together, and inshallah, and then I'll follow up with some of the other points from the report.
Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon all of you. The 8th edition of the State of the Global Islamic Economy report estimates $2.02 trillion in 2019. Islamic finance assets, meanwhile, stood at $2.88 trillion.
In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the report forecasts an 8% drop in global Muslim spending in 2020, with the travel sector being hit the worst and halal food faring the best. Spending is forecasted to rebound and reach $2.3 trillion in 2024.
The report covers special features on Gen Z views in the Islamic economy, successful women entrepreneurs, and 7 tech case studies accelerating digital transformation in the new normal.
The report's country benchmarking tool, the GIE indicator, ranks the most developed Islamic economy ecosystems. Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Indonesia lead the rankings among the 81 countries covered this year.
Investments in the Islamic economy totaled $11.8 billion in 2019-20, a decline of 13% over the previous period. At 54%, over half of total investments were in halal products, while Islamic finance drew another 42%.
Amidst the pandemic, our analysis shows that the Islamic economy is thriving in uncertainty. The report has identified 33 key signals of opportunities. In the lifestyle sectors, travel, tech, and online entertainment are the key signals.
In Islamic finance, while the sector struggles to bring back its double-digit growth days, accelerate digital transformation and social finance and ESG aspects are driving key opportunities. These key signals include tokenization of Sukuk and Islamic social finance.
In 2019, the global trade of halal food, pharma, and cosmetics was estimated at $200 billion, and the key opportunities area include food security investments, agri and food tech, and healthy food.
All right, now all good? And you're able to see the screen?
Yes, we're able to see the screen and we can hear you just fine.
On behalf of the 16 team members that had produced this report this year, the 8th edition of the State of Global Islamic Economy Report, I'd like to first of all thank Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center for supporting this initiative, this global initiative for the past 8 years. And to make a point, they've been very kind to ensure that we had the full objective ability to do the report and the analysis in the report. Also Salam Gateway, that is our exclusive distribution partner, and the various design elements that's been led by Google Studio, as you'll see today. We're also introducing an interactive dashboard along with some of the video animations. And finally, our launch host, MDEC. We're also grateful to our strategic partners worldwide, led by Ifanka from US, as well as CIMB Islamic in Malaysia, and the other partners, MDEC, UNHCR, Crescent Wealth, Refinitiv, Duo Pharma, and Linkaja from Indonesia. And this year, we're especially excited because they've all also have special contributions in the report, providing their perspectives on the halal and the Islamic economy as well. We're also launching this report this year across 12 countries in addition to Malaysia. And this shows the wide reach that the report has today and a reference point and a benchmark for the world. One of the things I'd like to highlight before we go further in terms of the insights of the reports that you heard from the introductory video as well, is how we do the reports research and the analysis. This year, over 52 industry professionals were interviewed across all sectors. We leveraged Refinitiv's data, Islamic finance data, while all other data that is primary is from Dinar Standard's own research on Muslim population estimates, investments tracking, innovation tracking, halal regulation, and trade tracking that we do. We've also covered thousands of stories this past year relating to the Islamic economy, out of which over 450 stories are referenced in the report. We also leverage multilateral agency databases, UN, World Bank, IMF, and other organizational public data that is referenced in our analysis. Finally, 12 years of Dinar Standard's global Islamic economy research and analysis is brought to bear. 16 team members who worked on this report covered the report from the period of August 2019 to August 2020. And overall, the analysis is based on our original views on market sizing, the indicator and investment analysis, and finally, we present the signals of opportunities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the report, which is a 200-page report that's freely available to all, is structured in the following ways. First of all, we present an introduction to the approach of the definition of Islamic economy, the drivers. We obviously cover the impact of COVID-19 this year. We talk about the government or country benchmark, the GIE indicator. We have the most extensive investment analysis done on the Islamic economy this year. And we're particularly excited to have the special features on successful women entrepreneurs that are developing fast across the Islamic economy, as well as the very important perspective of Generation Z, given the Islamic countries worldwide have some of the youngest populations, and they are really one of the most involved in the development of the Islamic economy. Then for each of these 7 sectors, you have a detailed about 20-page analysis that covers the 2019-2020 developments, signals of opportunities, strategic considerations for investors, governments, businesses, as well as highlighting tech case studies. So this is the overall structure of the report. As we have every year highlighted this point, obviously Islamic economy can have many varying meanings and definitions. Our report has used this as our definition, has introduced this as a definition, that those sectors whose core products and services are structurally affected by Islamic ethics and law, such as finance, food, pharmaceuticals, modest clothing, etc. And I always give the example of if you compare with a sector like furniture manufacturing, which the core product itself doesn't have directly Islamic law that affects the production and servicing of that production of that product. So that's based on that criteria is how and why we've highlighted the 7 sectors. So the report this year presents the Muslim consumer spending of the 1.9 billion estimated Muslims worldwide across 6 real economy sectors to be of food, media, fashion, cosmetics, pharma, and Muslim-friendly travel to be $2.02 trillion. And the Islamic finance assets are estimated in 2019 to have been $2.88 trillion. The big perspective that we analyzed this year is the impact of COVID-19, in particular through the end of 2020, because we're almost there, as well as which sectors amongst the 7 sectors were hit or estimated to be hit the worst. The most obvious is travel, and then the sector that fared the best was food, and we get into the detail of each of the sector in terms of which parts of those sectors were affected most or less. Overall, we anticipate an 8.1% drop this year of consumer spending, Muslim consumer spending across these sectors, and projected to come back to a CAGR of 5-year aggregate of 3.1% through 2024, with an adjusted spending number now of $2.4 trillion. In that middle box, what you see is our earlier projection pre-COVID. So you can see certainly there is going to be an overarching absolute impact to the volume and value of the Islamic economy. As pre-COVID, the anticipation was about 6.2%, and now it's down to 3.1% as an overall five-year CAGR. We are, you'll find insights from our Generation Z across all sectors. It was fascinating to get their views and their active involvement. And we find that in many of these sectors, Gen Zs are the ones who are driving it. We're also very excited to share the diversity of women entrepreneurs across the world who are leading entrepreneurship, who are driving entrepreneurship, who are leading a variety of startups in the Islamic economy space. And we feel this is going to be a key area for us to further encourage and support. Finally, one of the key messages, key learnings from this pandemic has been the acceleration of digital transformation. And we were certainly highlighting those trends across the Islamic economy, and you'll find some case studies relating to that, including the global benchmarks around these sectors in terms of digital transformation. Next, in terms of our country benchmarking tool, the GI indicator, as Mr. Abdullah Lawar and my colleague in the video highlighted, Malaysia continues to lead, and followed by Saudi Arabia this year, UAE and Indonesia, and then Jordan. One of the things I wanted to highlight at this point is that a key question gets asked to us about the methodology. What does this ranking mean? And I wanted to just mention a couple of points. The report details the methodology, but just to highlight a couple of key points. Number one, this ranking is across 81 countries this year. We added some additional countries who have significant either Muslim population or Islamic economy participation as producers of products and services that are geared towards the Muslim population worldwide. So out of 81 countries, the way we have prioritized or done the ranking is that the purpose of the ranking is to show the strength of the Islamic economy ecosystem in the countries relative to their size. And that's an important consideration when you look at the ranking and see why certain countries are up versus down. It's relative to the size that we show how developed is the ecosystem within the country. And there are 49 metrics across the 7 sectors that we are covering here. The other key point to mention is that the aggregate ranking is weighted heavily toward on sectors that are bigger in size. So 56% of the weightage of the ranking is in fact in Islamic finance. So if a country's ecosystem is strong in Islamic finance, they have a further advantage in this particular ranking that we have. And that weightage is followed by food, which is about 26%, and then the other sectors. So I just wanted to highlight those points, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. The investment sections this year, as you saw from my colleague Samin's mention, $11.8 billion worth of investments were tracked on transactions related to halal or Islamic economy related categories, with food representing 52% and Islamic finance 42% of the transactions. You'll see a leaks table in the report that mentions the top transactions by value across the jurisdictions. And you'll see that Malaysia had the second highest number of transactions that were M&A, VC, or private equity related 2019-20, the period that we covered. And that's a good sign, continues to show Malaysia's strong role, even in vis-a-vis the FDI and the investment activity that's it's seeing. The report this year especially focuses on what we call the signals of opportunities. There are some signals that are weak but have a big impact. There are some signals we see strong, meaning they're much more visible, clear, and again, they may have a big impact or a small impact. This is our team's subjective analysis on those opportunities, and we present to you 33 signals of opportunities. For example, on the food side, we see a lot of OIC governments, due to the pandemic, responding to the disruption of supply chain, putting a bigger focus on food security investments. And this is driving domestic food production as a priority, and we feel this is a major signal of opportunity. Besides that, you'll see a variety of technology-related signals of opportunities across the sectors, and we invite you to look at the report across in terms of opportunities across each of the sectors. Next, again, I think we highlighted this part. I wanted to spend a couple of slides on Malaysia itself, given we're hosting this launch of the global report in Malaysia. So for Malaysia, as already leading in the Islamic economy indicator, is a continuing show of its strength, its focus, its priority, with $570 billion Islamic finance asset, which really gives us the biggest leverage in terms of the wider Islamic economy. Malaysia also recorded our estimate of 4.8 million Muslim tourists in 2019, and its own domestic Muslim consumer, halal consumer spend at about $52 billion. From a ranking of the halal products that are exported worldwide, our estimate shows that Malaysia exported halal-related products to OIC countries at about $4.4 billion in 2019, which ranks as 19th in the world. And as you can see, the top 7 countries that are exporters are in fact non-OIC countries, with UAE leading in terms of the exports to OIC across all halal product categories. And by halal products, in this case, we're referring to food, pharma, and cosmetics products to OIC countries. The report also highlights a whole number of developments from various companies, organizations, government agencies. We have some of the panelists who will be sharing the views, and these are certainly not exhaustive. The report has many other Malaysian entities that were very active across all of the 7 sectors. Some of them are highlighted here. We're going to hear from HDC, Mr. Dalif, and they have been very active. One of the exciting things that we identified, besides many other things they were doing, is the launch of the Halal Integrated Platform, and I'm sure we're going to have some questions with Mr. Dalif. CIMB has been really pioneering a link between Islamic finance and halal industries or halal products, and its allocation of a fund to finance companies that want to get halal certified is certainly was innovative, and it's something that is certainly facilitating SMEs to move towards this area. Duo Pharma, Nurflix, and BIMB investment are some of the other examples in the report. I want to conclude by sharing with all of you a digital interactive dashboard that we have also launched. I just want to confirm that you're able to see the interactive version of the dashboard. Ms. Samin, if you can just confirm.
Right now, I can only see you. I can't see the screen.
All right, let me now, how about now?
It's just coming on. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so if you go to salamgateway.com, where you'll be able to download the report as well and access the dashboard. This year we have created this interactive dashboard where you would be able to view the trade flow, in this case of the global halal products categories, and see where does Malaysia stand, who are the trading partners. You can see the breakdown of the investments, the ranking. You can go to the different sector pillars, for example, in this case, pharmaceuticals, and be able to interact both on the trade side as well as the indicator values, and see where different countries rank in the indicators particular to halal pharmaceuticals, so forth. So we're excited to share this tool, and it's freely again available to all of you. I would close by sharing that the fact that we can all access this report freely from salamgateway.com, and look forward to your questions on this session, on the panel, and subsequently throughout the year as well. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. As mentioned earlier, we're happy to take questions. If you have questions for the team, Dinar Standard team, as well as the panelists, if you would like them to speak on any aspect of the presentation of the report, your questions are most welcome. We will, if we don't have any questions, since we don't have any questions right now, we will wait for your questions and begin with the panel discussion that's following. We're very excited to have a number of partners from Malaysia, from leading companies. We have Mr. Noor Hizam Abdul Qadir, Vice President, FinTech. He's welcome, sir. And then we have Mr. Hussam Sultan, Regional Head Commercial Banking of CIMB. We have Ms. Seri Azalina Muhammad Ghazali, Manager of Halal and Government Relations, Duo Pharma. And we also have Mr. Dalif Anwar from Head of Halal from HTC, the Head of Halal Consultancy. A very warm welcome to all of you. We would like to begin by a short introduction, please. So perhaps we could begin with Mr. Noor Hizam.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Noor Hizam Kadir, and I work for Malaysia Digital Economy Corporations. It's a government agency that spearheads the digital economy growth in Malaysia. And I'm in charge of a division that focuses on the developmental aspect of fintech as well as Islamic digital economy.
Thank you, Mr. Noor Hizam. Ms. Seri Azalina, would you like to go next, please?
Thank you, Simin. My name is Seri Azalina. I think you can just call me Azalina, it'll be fine. I'm from Duo Pharma Biotech, and for those who I think is quite familiar with the Duo Pharma, we just rebranded ourselves last year. We were formerly from Chemical Companies of Malaysia, the pharmaceutical division. So we are manufacturers of pharmaceuticals. We are also involved in research and development, commercialization, marketing, over 300 generic drugs, as well as consumer healthcare products. We are homegrown, as I mentioned, and our headquarters in Kuala Lumpur. And I'm in charge of basically the development aspect of halal in the company. There's the compliance area as well. And we also interlink ourselves with the integrity departments, the sustainability departments. So basically, these are some of the added value or the enhanced features of our organization. Thank you, Simi.
Thank you, Azalina. Mr. Hussam Sultan, would you like to speak next?
Thank you very much. My name is Hussam Sultan. You call me Hussam, of course. Regional Head of Commercial Banking at CIMB Islamic. That's it. I mean, we in CIMB Islamic, obviously, we look at the development of SME sectors and halal, including halal and green and sustainable sectors here in Malaysia. Regionally, but hopefully during the panel discussion, I'll share a lot more on what we do and the projects that we have and the visions that we have for both halal sectors and also Islamic finance.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. And Mr. Dalif Anwar?
Thank you, Simin. Hi, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dalif. I am from Halal Development Corporation, HDC of Malaysia. We are a government agency who are responsible to develop the halal industry or halal economy here in Malaysia. So we run the development activities here in Malaysia.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to kick off the discussion on the report. As you know, the report's theme is thriving in uncertainty. This has been a difficult year for industries, investors. We would like to hear your views on the report, any particular developments that you would like to shed more light on. Please go ahead and share. Maybe we can begin with Mr. Noor Hizam, please.
Of course, I would have to emphasize on digitalization. It's really interesting that Salam Medina Standards is getting into a digital dashboard, and I will definitely get into it later on. But it's also more about how digitalization, as I said earlier as well, has now been able to cut across sectors. Maybe 25 years ago, when MDEC first started, digital was just a vertical. And it wasn't even called digital back then. It was called informations and communications technology. Now we see things are changing. Now we see how digitalizations are now happening in every single sector. You name it, there's every tech into everything, right? There's fintech, there's ed tech, there's manufacturing tech, and you name it, and everything is there. This has helped to enable higher adoption, definitely, in the name of creating better efficiency and productivity for that particular sector. We do see that digitalization does help as well, especially in the Islamic economy sector, whether it is from the traditional Islamic financial services, be it wakaf or zakat, as well as Mr. Hussam Sultan would probably be able to respond to this better in looking into how digitalizations can help to support financial services in getting to the customers in a Sharia compliance way, among others.
Thank you. Yes, we completely agree. We've seen this across all sectors that digitalization has been a uniform trend. I feel that many businesses were even forced to adopt this, even if they were not ready. So we would love to hear from Mr. Sultan, if you could, Mr. Hussam, if you could share your views on the report and digitalization as well.
Thank you. I remember last year around the same time when the 7th report was launched, and it was our first partnership with Dinar Standard. And I remember Rafiuddin himself was, when talking about the future of the global industry, and we emphasized the importance of data for the development of halal sectors going forward. And that Dinar Standards and that report fills that gap, because when you develop something and you want to go global and you want to discuss something to foreign investors, and you need to talk about data and show the evidence of that. So I'm pleased to see first that you're going from one success to higher successes, inshallah. And also that dashboard is also very useful indeed. Now, Rafiuddin last year mentioned also something about digitalization. And I thought that was, at that time everyone was talking about digital. Everyone thought, we will digitalize everything. Until COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And then digitalization became from fardu kifaya to fardu ain, if I use the scholars' language. So it became a necessity. Now, we see this because we dealt with a lot of SMEs who, when the first lockdown happened, they wanted to continue to sell. And those who have access to e-shops, e-commerce, food sector, your Grab, e-hailing, so you can order your food and we deliver to you. And those who have not been.
Can everybody hear?
So with the special relief funds and all that, so banks had to respond to that swiftly. So that was our priority, to help our customers survive. But then we also realized that our strategy has to now change. And that's when we started launching the partnering with some technology providers. And now we are partnering with offering one of our solutions is e-commerce. Basically, we have gone not just to the larger businesses, but also to the medium-sized, the mid-corp businesses, to the micro businesses, also offering them access to e-commerce and setting up their transactional e-shops. That was the shift that we have seen in terms of impact of COVID. We moved from last year when it was, yes, it's good to have, it's nice to have, it's a vision, into this year becoming a must to survive and the reality. And that's when we see that digitalization is now one of the most important tools in business. So the report definitely helped us in that regard, in terms of designing strategies when we go global, when we talk about development of halal corridors. CIMB Islamic back in 2018 launched the first global halal corridor, and that was launched by the then Ministry of Trade and Industries here in Malaysia, and it was a big event. I'm happy to report that these corridor strategies have been a success. We are talking now to multiple countries now in terms of establishing those halal trade corridors. We are at the beginning still, but all the good signs are there that this is the way forward for the Malaysian economy. I think Malaysia has maintained leadership, and with halal being at the forefront of the strategy for most government departments and financial institutions, I think the future will be even better for halal sectors globally.
Thank you, Mr.
So thank you for the report and for the data and for this partnership. We are really appreciated.
We completely agree with your point about e-commerce being an essential point now, and even your point about data, because we've seen that data, the lack of sorry, I was saying that your point about data was very important, because we've seen that the lack of data has also affected supply chains. So we do see that this is going to become even more important as time goes on. We would love to hear from you, Azalina, if you could tell us about your views on the report.
Thank you, Simin. First of all, congratulations, Dina Standard and Dubai Islamic Chambers Commerce, Dubai Economy Development Corporation for this report. First and foremost, it's a very good insight. As a manufacturer, we always need to know what will be the market trends, what will be the consumers' ends looking into having halal as their lifestyle and how they want to access things. So we always look into producing something that is fitting to those lifestyle. So the features on the Gen Z is very, very interesting as well, especially that is something that we have a look out. What are the Gen Z thoughts about how they look into the Islamic economy and halal as part of their lifestyle approach, and how do we fit in to cater to those markets, because those are the new upcoming markets that we are looking at. And we are really appreciate on the data, because digital space is something that Duo Pharma has to be diversifying into. We can't be looking to just manufacturing, and the board of directors has already given this question to us: why did not we explore digital space? So this is something new that we have to look into, and as manufacturers, where are the areas that we want to reach out? Are we reaching out to our patients, the health practitioners? So where are that? So we are trying to map out the scenario right now, and I believe this report can help us to fill in some of the information that we are looking for, especially when we want to look into the halal space. And finally, I think it's just a very good reference point for us. And as mentioned last year, it's all about knowledge, and we appreciate this information to be given out, to be assessed, and to be analyzed by Dina Standard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's rewarding to hear that you're finding it useful. It's encouragement for us to move forward with it and do even a better job next year, inshallah. Mr. Dalip, I would love to hear from you, your views on the report.
Okay, so from consultant point of view, because I am heading the consultancy of the Halal Development Corporation. So this report throughout the years has always been our reference and our, in a way I can say, the reference to navigate the work for ourselves and so as well for our clients. So the report itself, the content itself has meant the way to many of the industry players, going from previously and to the future. And we are happy that this year you have, I just saw from the presentation that you have interactive, you can make it like interactive, scroll onto the map itself. So yes, I agree with all of the panelists. I mean, it's similar on my side as well.
Thank you. That's really nice to hear. And we would love for you to take a look at the site, explore it, give us your feedback so we can make it even better, inshallah. I would like to move on to the next question. And my next question is for MDEC. So we've heard that you've launched an initiative called eBarkat, which is aimed at making financial inclusion more possible. So what are the gaps that eBarkat is seeking to address?
If we were to look at it from the context of Malaysia and driving financial inclusion, Malaysia is one of very few developing markets that have very high bank population. 95% of Malaysians currently have some form of deposit accounts. Yeah. And government has done a pretty good job in introducing various progressive regulations that allows Malaysians to be investing, as an example. Yeah, the unit trusts, mutual funds, and recently the likes of equity crowdfunding and peer-to-peer. Those have spurred the momentum of financial services and financial inclusions that's done digitally in a way. But if you want to look at it from, while we are 95% bank, if you were to look at it from the demographics and whether that financial services, whether that wealth is well distributed, there's still a large chunk of Malaysians that are underserved. Low financial knowledge is a great example. You don't have to go far. Sometimes when I read all these financial documentations, it got myself confused as well, right? So low financial knowledge, there was a Bank Negara report that says 1 out of 3 Malaysians rate themselves to be of low understanding of financial knowledge. Budget planning, that's another great example actually. Only 17% of Malaysians have life insurance, very less take up on investment. So how do you plan for the future when you don't have investments done right now? And even alarming, and this is very much applicable to the current COVID-19 pandemic situation, future sustainability. Large chunk of companies in Malaysia are SMEs, right? And you see this new trend as well of Malaysians becoming gig economy workers. They're currently 28% of Malaysians are currently gig economy workers right now, and those people who deliver food to you during CMCO, yeah.
Right.
So 6 out of 10 Malaysian adults are self-employed or working in gig economy, and these people do not have any form of formal retirement. I mean, we're all lucky here. We have EPF and things like that, yeah, some form of pension systems, but these guys are not covered, yeah. So what we push with eBerkat, again, this is an option that is alternative, right? Option that is affordable because you can invest as low as 1 ringgit. An option that is accessible where you can retrieve and access to these digital financial services through your smartphones, yeah? So eBerkat is a big, how do I say this? It's an integrated platform working together with the industry. Currently, we're working with 12 fintech partners that provides microfinancing, micro-insurance, as well as micro-investment. And we feel that fintech, given the fact that it's affordable, accessible, it's alternative as compared to the other financial services that are offered by financial institutions right now, right, would then help to further supplement and address Malaysia's financial inclusion's need, especially in achieving sustainable growth along with fair and, most important, equitable distributions among Malaysians. B40s, micro SMEs are key target groups for these services actually.
Oh, that's really good to hear, because as everybody knows, COVID-19 has been the financial crisis is just deepening, and inclusion, the access to such services, that's going to be, I'm sure, a welcome initiative for all Malaysians. On the same theme, keeping to inclusivity, but in a different sector, I see in Ms. Azalina that we see you've launched generic cancer drugs in the aim of making pharmaceuticals and medicine more accessible. We'd like to hear more about your plans for making such affordable healthcare available to all Malaysians, and inshallah to, even as you expand to more Muslims across the world, especially when you have halal generics being manufactured.
Thank you, Simin. As mentioned, we are manufacturers, and technology is always evolving and changing. And we are also entering, we are also diversifying into the biosimilar space in technology and commercialization. So the cancer drug is something that Dua Pharma is focusing on in our specialty range, specialty products, and we are making it, trying to look into making it more affordable and inclusive for all. So we have invested actually in a drug facility. It's called Highly Potent Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients Plants, or we call it HAPI plants, which is located in our Glenmary facility. It was an investment of almost up to 50 million. That is the first of its kind in Malaysia to help into the self-sustainability of oncology medicine in Malaysia. So that we already started our range of, we started with 1 generic drugs oncology, that was last year. And we are looking into another one. We already launched another one this year and another one coming next year. So it's always a development process for us. And then upgrading our manufacturing facility is an ongoing thing, as I mentioned. And it's all about increasing capacity and also technology-wise. So in the pipeline, I think this was announced recently in the newspaper that we are looking into a biologic facility in our plant in the Selangor area, Kelang. And this is looking into the biosimilars product as well as vaccine. And so we have been working with our technology partner in Korea, Pangen, into ERISA, which is an erythropoietin biosimilars for anemic patients, and that has been certified halal by the Korean Muslim Federations. So the technology transfer is in phases right now. Due to COVID, we are kind of delayed, but it's still within the timeline. So it's all always about acquiring technology. We develop it with a partner overseas because we can't do it on our own, and looking into the technology transfer. And along the pipeline, there's other products coming up because we are heavily investing into clinical trials and also product development. Vaccines is one of them. There's a couple that we have in the pipeline. I'm not going to mention here, but of course COVID-19 is one of them. And halal will always be a component or a requirement that we look first into it, even though we at this moment is a pandemic is considered as a so but halal will always be at that shadow that we will see whether it's compliant or not, and see anything that is I think the word that I'm looking here is we will prioritize on not using any prohibited materials for that development. All right, because it's a very fairly new halal pharmaceutical. The standard came out in 2012, MS 2424, and our revised version in 2019 has added the component of vaccines there, and that is a very positive move. At least we have a guideline that we can base on, but still looking on the ingredients list, is still a lot of development works there that needs to be done.
That's great to hear. For Muslim consumers worldwide, I'm sure knowing that a product is certified halal, it gives us the added assurance that we're taking something that is inshallah beneficial for us and that will not impact us in any way or our faith.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Mr. Hussam, I wanted to ask you, CIMB has, keeping with our social impact focus, we see that CIMB has launched several sustainability initiatives. I would like to know what do you see as most urgent for Malaysia to act on in terms of sustainability, sustainable finance? And what do you think is lacking from the Islamic economy as well? What is the first priority you suggest for the Islamic economy?
We need an hour for this question, if you don't mind. Not 2 minutes. I mean, there are so many things that I can mention here. However, I would just highlight one of the key initiatives we launched this year. In February this year, we had a formal launch of what we call the Sustainable Exporters Program. This was a partnership between CIMB, Madrid, and Impacto. It's a sustainability impact measurement consulting firm. The idea here was that we looked at the future. We looked at what SMEs require if they want to go to new markets. We looked also at, we just recently launched by then our Halal Biz Ready. Now, our Biz Ready is a branded proposition whereby whenever there is an element of training, certification, graduation, we give it that tag name Biz Ready. So we launched the Halal Biz Ready, which is a proposition to enable halal certification. There's a huge gap between how many SMEs are halal certified and how many SMEs are in the halal sectors in Malaysia. So we looked at then, okay, those who are exporters. If you looked at the graph that Rafiuddin showed earlier, Malaysia is now number 19 in terms of exporters in the list in the ranking. Malaysia, yes. Last year it was 15. This year is 19. Now, one of the reasons of the year is that developing markets or buyers, they have stricter standards now. They require ESG standards. They require disclosures of certain elements. When it comes to supply chain, they require certain policies to be in place. And so we highlighted this, and we realized that there is a gap also in that aspect here. So we launched with Madrid the Sustainable Exporter program. The idea here is that we will target sectors, and then we will introduce free of charge to SMEs, enable them, especially the export-ready SMEs, enable them to start the journey towards becoming certified green, or to improve in their ESG practices. COVID then came, of course, and we had to figure out how, because the initial idea was that we will have a one full day workshop. We had then to squeeze this. In any case, we managed to reach out to probably close to 300 SMEs so far with training, and also we are enabling them if they want to start the journey. We will help them out in terms of doing assessment through our partnerships, of course, in terms of giving them the toolkits, templates, checklists that they require in their particular field. And also we'll give them free access to a consultant who can help them throughout that stage of the development. We started with food and beverages as a sector, then we moved to manufacturing in this month in November. That is one of the propositions we launched. The other one, as I mentioned earlier, the digitalization and the e-commerce enablement. And finally, I would mention also last month, we launched the Microbiz Ready. Microbiz Ready now to the point that mentioned by Noor Hizam earlier, that, we are, Malaysia is a very bankable and highly banked individuals, but when it comes to businesses, not many will have business banking accounts. And so we wanted to go also there and teach the very small entrepreneurs, the very, very small businesses, what does it mean to be a banking customer? What are the fundamentals of banking? What is banking 101? And then
I see. I believe there's some gap.
This level engagements, managing the impact of COVID and managing the aftermath of obviously the moratorium and all that. So that was our engagement this year with our customers.
Okay, thank you. That's a very important point. And
I can carry on, but I know the time is.
Yes, I think it would have been great to continue the discussion, but since we do want to move ahead, I really appreciate your point, because I see this as a multiplier, because you start enabling higher levels of standards within the country, and as it goes on, as the trade develops and multiplies, this is going to raise the standards of products and be more sustainable for the environment as well, which is becoming more crucial by the minute or by the second.
Yeah.
So that's really
sustainability is not just the environment, but also the economic sustaability.
Yes,
the viability, the resilience of the business to survive atrocities and crises. Also is a sustainability aspect. We want to bring the halal and green closer together. We believe that there is a big synergy there.
Yes.
And I think this is we can start there.
Yes, definitely.
When you speak now about sustainable finance and sustainable and green economy, the first thing that comes to people's mind is sukuk, green sukuk. Nobody's looking at the grassroots, at the SMEs and how we can develop SMEs. So this is where we want to be our area of focus for the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dalip, I wanted to ask you, how are you seeing, because the tourism sector is now in shambles, basically. We're seeing very little, we're seeing some signs of hope and light, but how do you see, because we see HDC was carrying out quite a few initiatives with different countries to promote halal tourism. We'd like to hear from you, how has the sector been responding in Malaysia? What are your plans with regards to tourism for the future?
All right, thank you, Simin, for the question. So in the light of the current situation, HDC would very much like to help the tourism industry in any way we could. However, as much as us and everybody would want to, the industry, I can say, is on hiatus at the moment. So unfortunately, the tourism, especially here in Malaysia, the tourism activities are limited or halted. So, you know, the industry very much at the moment rely on the activities. So to say that we are doing something, that is wrong, because, you know, even us, we can't travel, and as well, we are listening from everyone that, you know, these people are suffering, and day after day, we hear a lot of businesses is closing down and all that. However, what we can tell everyone is that at HDC, we will do, you know, on our behalf. So I can say that we are on a hibernating mode, as we are ready to go once the travel restriction is lifted. So just to share a little bit, since 2019, last year, we have been preparing to introduce a Muslim-friendly concept. It's something that complements the halal industry. And I believe we shall go back on track once we are all allowed to restart these tourism activities.
That makes sense. That makes sense. How about, we would love to hear about your halal integrated platform. I know that was also a cross-country initiative, but how is it going to be for Malaysia in the next few months? And what are your strategic areas of focus for 2021 with the platform?
Yeah, halal integrated platform. So I heard that Mr. Noor Haizam from MDAG has explained that, you know, Iberka, the integrated platform as well. At HDC as well, maybe there's some synergy, or in the future we will work together on it. But what HDC, what we have now, HDC, we used to have a physical halal one-stop center in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Now we are bringing that one-stop center into a digital platform, keeping up with the IR 4.0. It can be accessed through thehalalportal.com. So the portal combines all of our services and also introduces a lot more things that we cannot do previously. Halal Integrated Platform, or HIP as we call it, is not just targeted for a certain group of people. It is for everyone. It is for halal practitioners, business society, academic society, and as well casual users. HIP interfaces will be live by phases. We start off with online halal community first, where you will get access to halal related information and also our service offerings, and also some introductory halal trainings. Soon we will launch a halal marketplace in there, in the same portal, the same platform. Typical to HDC, all these are not just going to be passive initiatives. There will be onboarding programs that will assist businesses to get onto the platform, while at the same time, we're also going to enhance the commercial activities in and through the platform. HIP, of course, will also definitely offers all sorts of demand, be it alternative ingredients, you know, for businesses who are looking for alternative supplies, and also it will provide the halal workforce, or Muslim worker, as many would recognize, and also to fill in the gap when it comes to the halal certification requirements.
Oh, that's really good to know. So you have a lot coming next year.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we have time for one more round of questions. So I would like to ask MDEC, if you could tell us about your Islamic Digital Economy Guide, MIAR, and how has this been received, and how do you see the ecosystem evolving in the future with this guide?
Well, let's just not speak about the guide per se, but look at the opportunities of Islamic digital economy. With Malaysia spearheading in various sectors of Islamic economy, as I said earlier as well, digitalization becomes key, because digitalizations would then help to expedite and increase productivity and efficiency. Part of the role of MDEC, one of MDEC's guiding principles, is to ensure that we help the growth of technology companies. And in the context of MIAR, the growth of technology companies that are within the space of Islamic digital economy. We work together with various scholars and Sharia compliance advisors in helping us to build this Islamic digital economy guide. And it serves as a reference, especially for startups, for venture capital, as well as for the supporting ecosystem players who wish to explore and understand various components of Islamic digital economy. Yeah, and then MDEC will play the role of connecting as we are attracting companies, both local as well as foreign, that would want to venture into this Islamic digital economy space. We would then connect them with the Sharia compliance advisors, the scholars, in helping them to look at it from whether it's Sharia compliant or halal perspective in running their businesses. Yeah. So far, Alhamdulillah, we've attracted more than 30, mostly predominantly technology companies that have gone through the MINIA process, working with the various ecosystem partners. And this would then help to further strengthen the positioning of Malaysia as the hub for Islamic digital economy.
So basically, you're, in a sense, you're mentoring these startups to go ahead and grow in the Islamic economy.
Exactly. It's also to create interest in attracting them on opportunities and huge opportunities in the Islamic economy that many may have not realized as yet. So out of the 30, quite a large chunk, I don't have the specific numbers on top of my head, and a pretty significant percentage are companies that have been delivering solutions for the conventional market, and they don't see Islamic market, Islamic economy as something that they would be able to get into. So this MIA guide helps them, and in a way, as what you said, mentor them in helping them to tap onto the opportunities of the Islamic world.
That's going to be very helpful, because we from our interviews also, we've seen that companies, smaller companies especially, struggle with getting halal certification, getting the right guidance on how to go about it. So this looks like a very welcome initiative. I also see a question from the audience that is directed at all three panelists, MDEC, HDC, and CIMB. It says, it's from Pink Lim. It says, it seems that there are many e-market platforms offered by both government agencies, MDEC and HDC, and private institutions, CIMB. What are the steps that we need to take to streamline all these platforms to avoid unnecessary duplication as well as transparency across platforms to generate synergy? I reckon if there are too many one-stop centers or platforms out there, this would cause confusion to businesses. We'd love to hear from you. Please let us know, and then.
Okay.
Yes. From all three of you.
Sure.
Panelists.
Maybe I'll start. I mean, this question has been surfaced many times, and I look at it from two sides of the coin. Yes, definitely there is a need for integrations or consolidations for that matter, but at the same time as well, various government agencies would have their own domain expertise. I wouldn't be able to speak the way Mr. Dalif speaks, actually, because he's the master of halal and Sharia, right? But he won't be able to speak digital the way that I speak. While we create initiatives, it may be seen as silo for now, right? But when it comes to a level that there could be opportunities for these initiatives to come together.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry, actually. I think there was a bit of an disruptions earlier. Where was I? Where did I last stop?
Sorry, I was also trying to look at the disruption.
Okay.
You were telling us that you have different expertise in different...
okay, all right. So as I said, I look at it from two sides of the coin. While there are opportunities, while there is a need for consolidation, but various agencies would have their own sets of domain expertise. And this domain expertise eventually will merge. A lot of efforts, especially in e-commerce, and since Brother Hussam mentioned about e-commerce, the effort that we've been running through programs like e-Usahawan, Digital Free Trade Zone are now merged with initiatives with MITI and Matrade, because we see that there's a need for some form of consolidation without having to create confusion for the businesses. Yeah. Once it reaches the maturity level, and I'm sure that there'll be some points where MDEC and HDC and other government agencies will come in and see opportunities on how some form of consolidations can happen for the benefits of the Islamic digital economy.
Thank you. Mr. Dalit, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mr. Nohaizam. But just to add one more point is that the way how I see this is like I take it as a positively. I mean, like, we need to have, in a way, some sort of positive competition. So, this competition will be somehow a motivation for, everyone to go towards the same direction. So yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah, I understand there are some like cons, to the side of it, but also look at the bright side, meaning that, we don't want to have, only one ecosystem that is being monopolized by only one entity. We want, the industry to be more colorful and more aggressive.
That's good, because we're going to see more from Malaysia. We're already #1. I see more of this to continue in the future.
I guess, all of this activity will reflect back on the report, the indicator, on your formula. So we better do, like what we are doing now to keep up with the #1.
Inshallah, we will be on track, tracking your every move.
It's always tough to retain the position rather than to climb up.
Alhamdulillah, you've been doing it for a few years now, mashallah. Miss Azalina, I just wanted to ask you one question. We're seeing how you're carrying out different initiatives to strengthen the halal pharma ecosystem. But one thing that remains is, how do you increase the awareness in Muslim consumers? What are the initiatives that you're doing to increase the awareness of Muslim consumers, to help them understand why halal pharmaceuticals are important, and create demand for this? So it would be good to hear your views on this.
Thank you, Shimin. That's a very, very interesting question, and a very interesting topic to discuss as well. As Hussam said, we maybe need 1 hour for this, but okay, I'll try to cut it short. The thing is, we do reach out to our consumer because through our products, whatever that we have certified halal, especially consumer healthcare products, the logo will always be next to our branding. Now, that's the differentiating factor. But sometimes they put it amiss because there are still the ecosystem or the regulatory still do not allow on ethical products or prescription products. Now, we have a few strategies as well in order to communicate about the benefits, because whatever it is, halal is not a regulatory requirement, it's actually a voluntary requirement. And we are a very highly regulated industry. And whatever that we put in halal is actually a value proposition to our products. And that value adding is actually benefiting all consumers, regardless you're Muslim or not. So we have targeted, the continuous medical education that we have with healthcare practitioners is always there. We always talk to our healthcare practitioners, the hospitals, doctors. Some disagree, some may not agree, but it's actually an open to discussion. We have managed to create quite good allies as well with some low profile medical doctors association like Iman, the medical doctor health practitioners in Philippines. So they're very open to the concept of halal pharmaceutical, and they are very much attracted because Mindanao area is basically mostly majority populated by Muslims. We also had a lot of collaborations with academics like University Kebangsaan Malaysia, University Science Islam Malaysia, which is USIM. And this collaboration gives us better reach out to our to the public about. So we're actually creating key opinion leaders here to talk about what is benefit about halal to the pharmaceutical. We understand that the market is really small. Halal generally, I think it's about 10% in the market what is halal certified, and that is very, very small. So there's always a gap of the 90% that we are looking at. But the thing is, it is a start for demand, because once the voice of consumer are very concerned about medicines, because it is a consumable product, especially when it becomes a routine, right? And these are the things that the people are starting to get aware. So once the demand started, it will eventually create a higher volume. And even on the supplier side, they do look into considering to be certified halal, or to have a facility that's dedicated to compliance of halal, and will look into spending that. So we do notice the ecosystem is developing along our supply chain or value chain.
Alhamdulillah, that's great. That's a good development. And inshallah, next year we'll have more to report on the halal sector and from Duo Pharma as well.
Yes,
So,
and we're looking forward for that. On a year-to-year basis, we always look forward for your report to come out.
That's great to know. Thank you so much. I have one last question for CIMB. This is for your plans for 2021 for Malaysia and Malaysian trade in the halal corridor. How do you see this growing in the next year over 2021?
We want to go back to where we left things are earlier this year. So when we launched the Halal Biz Ready late last year, and then we launched it formally beginning of this year, the performance of the first quarter was better than expected. We were above target for the first quarter, and then obviously COVID happened. So we had to put a pause on this, deprioritize and deal with other more pressing priorities. And then the digitalization came, and we managed to get back into the sustainable exporters. And so next year we look to go back to the halal biz, to the corridor. The discussions that we've been having for the last few months with 3 potential corridors, actually 3 countries. We want to start putting these pieces together and make the impact that we have always planned for. Sometimes, delay comes for a reason, and everything happens for a reason. And the impact that we're having with COVID, I'm sure the rebound will be stronger, and companies will become more resilient. We just want to go back into the driving seat and start looking for how we bring together SMEs, how we develop the halal industry, how we bring the green, sustainable finance together with halal, how we affect the digitalization, and how we can move from being 19 in the exporters ranking to become higher. My vision is that in a few years' time, we don't want to be 19. We want to be in the top 10. So, inshallah.
We are looking forward to that too. We have 2 questions
yeah, absolutely.
from the
your
audience.
data would be crucial.
We have 2 questions from the audience. One is, I would like to know the structure mechanism to materialize all the plans and projection to be the best fintech. How, I believe what is being asked is, how can Malaysia's fintech industry become the best? What mechanisms and what plans are in place for this? Would you like to take Mr. Nur Hizam, do you want to address this?
Okay.
And then we'll go back to CIMB.
Sure. I think in growing Islamic fintech industry in Malaysia, it would require not just single effort from MDEC. It has to be the whole entire ecosystem, like any other industries that are rather highly regulated, and financial services is one of them, right? Involvement as well as engagement from the likes of Bank Negara, as well as Securities Commissions, and having them to have a priority in ensuring technology becomes at the forefront in supporting the growth of the fintech industry. Apart from regulators, of course, developmental agency like MDEC plays a role as well, especially in increasing capacity. There is an initiative, a capacity building initiative called Fintech Booster that helps to drive understanding for fintech companies when it comes to regulatory and compliance, giving them access to POCs, access to help them, getting supports from corporations, for example, or having them to be integrated, to be connected with technology integrations, be it APIs or data for that matter. So it has to be a national effort, definitely, and alhamdulillah, we see government sees opportunities, right? And I think in a way there's silver lining with COVID-19, that digitalization has become a big agenda, has become a focus agenda that everyone would right now have to sort of transform the way we live, and fintech or Islamic fintech for that matter plays an important agenda as well.
Thank you for answering that. We have one more question. Like Islamic finance, when will halal industry disclosure in company annual reports will be made available? Mr. Dalif, do you want to address that?
At the moment, we do not have. I mean, at the moment, we still do not have the initiative, particularly in Malaysia. So let's hope that next year, the initiative will come up and will be, heading this.
Okay,
that's all I can say.
All right. So I think we're very close to finishing now. I just want to ask Mr. Hussam, do you have any closing remarks on the question on fintech? Would you like to share anything? We can take the rest of the questions offline. We will get back to you with written responses.
Look, Malaysia has done it many times before. Malaysia was, number one in Islamic banking and finance. Then Malaysia is number one in terms of halal standards and standardization of halal industry. Is there, the right government support is there, the right government agencies are there, and also the right policies and government drive behind it. Things end up happening, and we've seen it many times here. Fintech is as a global phenomenon now. It's still taking shape. It's still for everyone to take, innovate and develop. And I don't think, one of the unique things about fintech is that it's probably borderless. You probably will find different countries innovate differently at different times, and the leadership will change every quarter of who's leading the fintech industry. I think in Malaysia we have the right ingredients to do well in this sector, with support of government agencies like MDEC, Magic, also, where startups can have someone to go to, get some advice, apply for grants, get some direction. I think we have the right ingredients here. Obviously, I can be biased and say, well, as a startup, you need to have the right bank as well, and visit the nearest CIMB branch. But it's beyond. It's now beyond the local bank, and although we will try and do our best to support.
Yeah,
so I think for Malaysia to lead this, I think why not?
Yeah. If I can add a bit to that, actually, I think the gap right now when it comes to growth of Islamic fintech, I have full faith, no doubts that this Islamic fintech companies and fintech companies know what they're doing. These guys are great. They know their stuff. One thing that can be fixed, and I'm pointing it to me as well, in terms of how government and the industry can work together in increasing accessibility to capital. And that's crucial. I mean, as these companies, these startups, these technology startups are also SMEs. How can banks, perhaps Mr. Hussam would be able to assist some of these companies to be able to get financing much better? How would the VCs, and lately there's been quite a bit of an interest. We need more of conventional VCs, the likes of Gobi Partners, for example, starting to look into opportunities in Islamic market. I think by injecting and having more capital availability, there would be bigger growth for the Islamic fintech industry, right? And not just Islamic fintech industry, and any startups, any technology companies across Islamic economy, whether it's halal or any other green economy for that matter. Yeah. So that is my hope, and it's not an easy journey, but something that government and the private sector would have to look and work together.
Thank you so much. This was really enlightening. I hope our audience has enjoyed it as well. We would like to conclude now because we're at the end of our the scheduled time. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Nur Hizam, Mr. Hussam, Mr. Dalif, and Ms. Azalina. Thank you so much. It's been very good to have you here. And I would like to end by thanking our sponsors. We have Ifanka, CIMB Islamic, MDEC, UNHCR, Crescent Wealth, Refinitiv, Duo Pharma, and Link Aja. Thank you so much to everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Walaikum salam. Thank you, Shmi. Congratulations on the launch.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Assalamu alaikum.
And stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.